Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this Sunday afternoon safari. Maybe not all of you, it's going to be afternoon, so a very good morning to you all. It is very nice to be sitting in front of you for this afternoon game drive here on the Rietspruit Game Reserve. If you don't know who I am Gareth Nuttall-Smith. Oh, there runs a diker. I don't know if you saw that run across the road just in front of us. And I will be taking you on a game drive for the next couple of hours on the Lowveld of South Africa. If you don't know who I am Gareth Nuttall-Smith. And on camera this afternoon, I have Basil. It's been a while since Basil and I have been on game drive together. And it's been a while since I've done one of these Sunday safaris. There's a diker on the other side of Mamba Dam, so let's see if we can put our first animal on screen. Oh. In typical diker fashion, they dived away. The name diker does come from the Afrikaans word for dive. And it's certainly what it did there as we were stopping here at a very empty Mamba Dam. There's not much there, it looks pretty slushy. Right in the middle, Basil, I don't know if you can see it, there's a terrapin just moving there. It's quite a big one. So that just looks like a marsh terrapin. It's quite hard to tell from this distance, but just looking at the size of it, trying to make the most of what's remaining of the water in the dam here at this time of the year. Looks like there's also some three-banded plovers running around on the outside, on the shore of the dam. Oh, there's a big terrapin on the land here, Basil. Going towards the hide there, if you can. Yeah, so can you see it moving here? Go left, go left. Yeah. Come down here. Come further, it's about to go in the grass. You see the stick here? Go behind the stick. Yeah. Maybe it's trying to find itself some shade. You can see on the shell there where it's been sitting in the mud for a little bit, what's left of this dam. We have had an extremely hot couple of days. It has been blistering out here, and now, literally in the last half an hour or so, the wind has picked up, which suggests we are in for some cooler weather over the next few days or for the next week. I did check the forecast earlier this morning. It does look like we're going to experience some overcast conditions over the next week or so, and some rain towards the end of the week, which will be quite welcome, especially when you look at how little water there is remaining in Mamba Dam. Now, Mamba Dam is one of the smaller dams that we have on the Rietspruit Game Reserve, and it's no surprise that it's looking pretty low like it is at this time of the year, end of the dry season, although we've had around 40 millimeters of rain since the end of September. So we've actually had a bit of sort of early rain, as we would consider it. There's a couple of birds, some doves coming down for a drink. It looks like there's some ring-necked doves. I've seen some emerald-spotted wood doves coming down to the edge of the water for a sort of what is becoming a late afternoon drink. And hopefully, as we go on this game drive and we're going to pop past some of the water sources, this will be a trend for most things. It's hot, it is windy, and with this much heat that we've had in the last few days, the landscape's dried up after the rain that we had last week. So animals are still relying on these somewhat permanent sources of water, especially water-dependent species like rhinos and elephants, impalas maybe. We did just miss that duiker just now, so hopefully our luck will go. There's a white-bellied sunbird bouncing around. I think a little bit too quick for Basil. It flew up out of the tree and then caught the wind and picked up its speed. Some fork-tailed drongos. But I think let's carry on. Let's see what we can find. I know the 2 male lions were in the northeastern parts of Blowbank this morning around Lowveld Dam, so it could be worth our time making our way up there and seeing if they get a little bit active, although on a hot day like today they might not do too much for us before the end of game drive. It might be one of those sort of hot summer days where the lions sleep until it gets a lot cooler and only move around once the sun has long gone and the temperatures start cooling off, which is quite typical of lions, as they want to try and conserve as much energy as they possibly can before they go and move the longer distances that they move at night when it's cooler. It's been a little while since I've seen our 2 male lions, so it would be nice to catch up if they haven't gone too far from this morning, which I suspect that they wouldn't have because of the temperature. Something just caught my eye, but it might be something like a little duiker on the bank here, which may have just darted away. Just a bit of funny color, but I cannot see it again. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to go up what I kind of call the middle. It's by no stretch of the imagination down the middle of Blowbank. It's between the 2 rivers that we have on the reserve, the Sun Slirt and the Deep Slirt. So it's kind of between those 2 dry riverbeds. And it's quite a productive spot on the reserve, so I kind of call it the middle. Just nice and direct getting up to Leadwood. But you go past CEST, which is a nice area with the Krip. Maybe the rhinos are making their way back into that area, although I saw a lot of rhino middens have got some activity down here, so Mamba Dam would have been a good source of water for them. And now it's not so much a source of water, but a source of mud. Protect their skin as the temperatures are getting close to that 40 degrees Celsius mark now, so it really is summer here in Southern Africa. And when we get these couple of days, like the last 2 days especially, it has been really hot. It's always welcome when the temperatures drop off, like we expect them to do this coming week with this wind that's picked up in the last hour. Also hello to some of our pack members that have joined. So hi to Mary, Betty, Jennifer, Michael, nice to have you joining us on Drive today. I know a few people are traveling, a few of our regular pack members. Yeah, Mary, it does seem that Connie and Bob and Carol might be bringing cooler weather of the northern hemisphere down to us in the southern hemisphere, so they're welcome. On that note, tomorrow afternoon for all of our pack members, I will not be doing pack chat. Victoria will be doing pack chat tomorrow, so a little bit of a change. For those of you that have been tuning in to our pack chats on a Monday evening, I will be on Game Drive with Bob and Carol. Looks like some monkeys were walking down the road here. Oh, European bee-eater, that's lovely. One of our migrant birds that has arrived back into the Lowveld. Such a distinct call that they've got. It's lovely to have that back. Summer is upon us. The bush is greening up. It is so beautiful at the moment. The grass is slowly coming through. The trees have got their leaves, the typical characters that have lost their leaves in the dry season, the marulas and knobthorns. Their leaves are back, so it's adding some color. The grass is nice and short still, so the bush still has sort of a sense of still being thin, but that isn't going to last too much longer because the bush willows, which kind of follow after the marulas and knobthorns in terms of putting out their new leaves, are starting to put their leaves out. And when the grass gets a bit taller and the bush willows are in full color, the bush gets really thick again. So we're going to enjoy the next couple of weeks. It may not even be that long before the bush is really thick again to see deeper into. Our migrants are coming back. The cuckoos, I've heard several cuckoos. I saw a Jacobin's cuckoo a couple of days ago. Red-chested cuckoo, Klaus's cuckoos calling all over. Now hearing and seeing the European bee-eaters. It's amazing how the bush recovers so quickly from a little bit of rain. And we almost get used to the bush in that sort of dry, dull state that it is at the end of the dry season. And then a few weeks later, after some rain, it's all of a sudden beautiful, and we look back at the dry season and wonder to ourselves, how did we think that that was normal? I want to put ourselves in the shade here because we've got a family of guinea fowls. Nice to have some helmeted guinea fowls here. Looks like they're all scratching around the area of a wildebeest midden there. Insects are coming back as they do with the rains and the temperatures, which means there's probably a few insects around that wildebeest midden, which the guinea fowls are taking full advantage of. I see Carol, welcome, joining us with Bob and Connie.
Crossing into Global, then a house vehicle 1.
Michael, I'm sure there is a Shangaan word for guinea fowl, but I do not know it. Basil? Put Basil under some pressure here.
No, I don't know it.
Basil doesn't know it.
I know the baby word.
Okay. Basil doesn't know it either. So while we were talking about all the migrant birds, guinea fowls are one of our residents. They are here throughout the year. Such a beautiful bird with the blue face and that polka dot type of feather that they have. They do like this sort of open, more open areas like this that we're in currently, or kind of going into the bushline now. They're moving a little bit out of this open patch here. They are a territorial bird species, so different flocks will hold territories, and when two groups come together, both the males and females within a flock will fight. Fighting to defend the boundaries of a territory. And just now when we were sitting at Mamba Dam, we were talking about animals going for an evening drink. Guinea fowls are not too dissimilar to that. They do go quite often for a sort of late afternoon drink before finding themselves their roosts. And then they'll fly up into their roost for a night. Often preferred roosting sites. They do like certain trees. I remember when I was guiding at Mala Mala, I had a flock that used to roost in the tree above me. It was a big boerbean, but I didn't enjoy it because I quite often had either genets or Varroa's eagle owls trying to hunt them in the trees above my room, so there would always be alarm calling as they do. And it was rather annoying at 2 o'clock in the morning if a flock of guinea fowls is losing their mind because of a predator trying to catch one of them. Okay, they've all kind of moved a little bit into the bush here, but I remember talking about predators hunting them in the bird bin above my room. I went on leave once and I pulled out a guinea fowl carcass from my engine block, which is rather interesting. So clearly a genet had gone up into the tree and caught one and then had tried to stash it away in a safe place for a desperate time, and thought it was a good idea to put it into my engine block. So I had guinea fowl feathers and half a guinea fowl carcass. Who knows how long it had been there. It wasn't the most pleasant of sights when I opened up the bonnet to just make sure everything was fine before I went on leave, and I found half a guinea fowl. I remember waking up a couple of mornings and trying to chase the Varro's eagle owl away so that it would stop annoying the guinea fowls and keeping me awake. Yes, we're not too far from CEST Crip. We'll see if anything's coming down there for a drink. And then I think we'll make our way up towards Lowveld of South Africa, see if those male lions are around there. They might have moved into some deeper shade somewhere, but hopefully that deeper shade is close and in sight, which it often is on the riverbed that goes into that dam. So it would be nice soft sand for them to be lying in, rather than the thickets where we wouldn't be able to get a view. And then it's also a good place for rhinos to potentially come down for an evening drink. There's quite often some rhinos up there. There's a cow and calf that got called in on the radio now just before we saw the guinea fowls in that sort of vicinity, so it'd be nice if they make their way towards the dam. And then there's always a bull up there. I can't help but go on a game drive like this and remember the days of Andrew. All he wanted to do was find leopards. And it's not something we often get on these drives on the Rietspruit Game Reserve. But it was funny because when we were getting ready for the drive this afternoon, Basil pulled in Andrew and he's like, let's go find a leopard this afternoon. So we'll give it a bash a little bit later. Maybe on the way home, we're going quite far north up towards Lowveld of South Africa. Maybe on the way back, we'll get lucky with a leopard on the move on the roads. Or even coming down for a drink, although with the lions there, it may not be fun for a leopard to come and drink at Lowveld of South Africa. It wasn't too long ago that there was a male leopard drinking at Lowveld of South Africa, Matimba. The one that has that big scar on his neck from a snare. He was seen leaving Lowveld of South Africa a few nights ago, maybe even a week ago now. Trying to see if there's any comments, but my chat has gone. There we go. Got it back. Mary, are those the two baby elephants you would like to see, or baby rhinos you would like to see? I think the elephants are younger than the rhinos. These little open patches here near CEST are a good spot. You can see the rhino midden here. There is a seasonal pan off here that when it has got water in it is a popular spot, but there's nobody there. I can hear some acacia pied barbets calling off in the distance. Chin spot baddest just flew across the road. Very challenging to try and put them on camera.
Alex crossing into Durban from Fire, my Africa visual number 1.
Okay, so here is Seskan Crypt. There's nothing here, but down the road I can see a herd of impala. So I'll try and get a little bit closer to them and have a good view of the impala right next to the road, enjoying the nice green shoots that are coming up. Lots of monkey tracks. There's always a little group of vervet monkeys here. Not this afternoon though. They might be closer to the deep slits. I was going to say I want to stop here to let Basil see if he can get those impalas on before they moved off, but they already darted behind the bush, so we'll get a little bit closer. She's also going to go around the bush. Let's see. No. Let's see if we can get them up ahead, Basil. They are moving away from the road, so I'm sure we'll get a view here. It nice opens up a little bit. Mm-hmm. It will not be too long. Whoa, nice big jump from that female. I was saying it won't be too long before they start having all their little babies, and then summer is really upon us. And that little jump, I don't know if we got it on camera, but impalas can jump 10 meters in a single leap. It's called stotting. And the idea behind that is to try and evade predators. If a predator is running after you and you're leaping that far, you are indicating to them that you're pretty fit and healthy. And she did that moving away from us. We would do well to try and catch an impala. It's really thick in here and they've just moved away from the road. So that's a pity, but we'll see if we can find some more. But like I was saying, it's not going to be too long until they're having their lambs. I have heard of some reports of lambs already. Not on the Rietspruit, but on another reserve nearby, which is really early. Typically, middle of November is when we would expect them. So a couple of weeks and we'll start really keeping an eye out for little impalas. Just keeping an eye on a yellow-billed hornbill, hoping that maybe it was one of our little accipiters. But it landed in a terrible place to try and put on camera, so I didn't try and stop. Just sort of catching the wind and gliding. Quite typical of something like a goshawk behind the trees, but then when I did get a look at its big yellow bill, it was pretty obvious. But it was not a little accipiter that I was hoping for. It is starting to cool off quite nicely now. It was a very hot day earlier. One of those days that you just want to stay in the swimming pool.
Yeah, we are just a moment, just want to pull out for you.
Just trying to hear what's going on with the rhinos. I know there were some rhinos on Kaya, but I'm really interested in this female and calf that's not too far from Lowveld of Dam. Sounds like they're still in the area of not too far from the corridor, so a little way from the dam, but for a rhino, not too far to go for an evening drink, which is what I'm hoping for. Puffback calling. I don't know if you could hear that on the mic. Let's see if there's going to be any nyala in this area. There's always nyala here. We're getting quite close to the confluence of the Sun Slurt and Deep Slurt, which then becomes the Rietspruit. And quite often this little area that we are in has got nyala moving around. As we drive towards the Sun Slurt, it's not a nyala, but it's a little female steenbok. Let's see how long she's brave enough to wait there from. Oh, she's actually hanging around for us. This is beautiful. See if we can see what she's eating. Is she?
You can join. You can join.
Is she going for new shoots of grass? Okay. It looks like she's potentially eating leaves that have fallen off a tree or something. Steenboks normally are in pairs, a male and female pair. They will be monogamous. You don't often see them very close together, but it's not one. Its mate wouldn't be too far from her. He'll be somewhere within, normally a sort of eye shot, but ear shot. Similar coloration to impalas, like we saw just now. And they rely on their camouflage because they don't have lots of eyes and ears to keep them safe from predators. They'll just sit still, often in the long grass, or they'll quickly dart off and stay still in a little thicket, using their camouflage to blend in perfectly, low to the ground. And it's incredible how still they do sit. Sometimes you think you've seen one and then you can't see it again because they blend in so well, especially a little bit later in the season when the grass is a bit taller. Obviously she's moving around in this open area, which is a really nice view of Steenbok, because they often, when you're driving past them, stop still, and then when you stop they dart off to try and increase their distance from you, and then they try and blend in somewhere else. So it's nice that she's staying here in a nice view. It's not often you get such a great view of a Steenbok. She's just little nibbling all over. It looks like she's nibbling maybe little forbs that are coming through there. Maybe every now and again a little bit of grass, because there's so many great nutrients in those shoots. It looks like she is eating a little bit of grass. Typically a browser and not a grazer, eating flowers and fruits, things like that. They need food with a high concentration of nutrients because of their small body size. Sometimes they'll also dig a little bit to try and get to roots and bulbs. It looks like such a small little antelope, but in order to get away from things, especially like leopards, which would probably try and hunt them a little bit more than a lion, doesn't mean a lion wouldn't go for them. Leopards, cheetahs, they're also very quick, and the acceleration is incredible to get away from something like that. There is a little family of nyala walking through here, as we predicted. It's not very hard to get nyalas moving through this area, following the Steenbok. This is such a beautiful antelope. A female leading the way, and it looks like there's a couple more coming out of the thickets behind her. They're always in this area close to the confluence of the Sunsloot and Deep Sloot. The little Steenbok's running a little bit there. They really are kind of like a riverine specialist. You don't see them too far from any rivers. They like the dense thickets. Being browsers, being in areas with lush vegetation is always obviously good for them, so that's why you don't typically find them elsewhere or too far from rivers. But almost like that Steenbok that we saw just now, they probably take advantage of this new flush of grass coming through and nibble on some grass a little bit at this time of the year when it's nice and nutritious and flushing up after being dry for so long. Lots of nutrients in the new growth, but that isn't their typical feeding behavior. They are browsers. And we're talking about camouflage with the Steenbok. You can see these antelope have those white stripes down the side of their body, which really makes them quite beautiful, all to disguise themselves when They're moving around the thickets around the riverbeds. This breaks up that body shape, being slightly bigger than the Steenbok. They couldn't really rely on ducking into thick vegetation and not being seen. So they rely on their stripes to break up that shape of their body and go unnoticed when predators are moving through an area. No males following this little group of females and youngsters.
Leaving that rhino calf unattended, slightly south of the intersection between blue wildebeest ripper and hoofbutt, feeding in a northerly direction.
Okay. That was nice. The male lions have been found around Lowveld of South Africa. So I think we're going to make our way there now and see what they're up to. Potentially they get up and have a drink. Maybe even get up and do some advertising for us. Some roaring, that's what would be lovely. We are a little bit away, so we're just going to slowly make our way there now, knowing that they're there and we don't really have to look for them because somebody else has found them. So we try and get our timing right when it starts to cool down a little bit and maybe we get some activity there. The sun is setting just after 6 o'clock, so hopefully with this wind it's enough time for it to cool down enough for them to start moving before the end of drive. So we've got about an hour of light left. So I'm sure we'll get some sort of activity out of the two males, even if it's just a stretch and maybe a bit of grooming or yawning. But we'll pop past there now, see if there's any activity. If there isn't much happening, then maybe we go and see if we can find the rhino and her calf and then come back. That is what I'm thinking. But sometimes these animals do the opposite to what you expect them to do or that you've read about. And the lion might get up and start doing something earlier than what we anticipate. So it's always nice to try and at least go and have a little look at them. My chat keeps doing some funny things. It's nice here in the riverine areas of the sun slit. The temperature in the shade here is very pleasant. Comments are not loading on my phone, so I'm going to wait a little bit until we get to some higher ground and see if they come through. So if you have got a question, I will hopefully get those comments shortly. It's like a porcupine or honey badger walked there last night. Tracks are not very... Oh. The road has eroded a little bit with the rain. But he'll start, eh? Nine out of 10. There's a slight rollback. Stations, I'm keen to respond to the male lions at Lowveld of South Africa. I'm about 10 out. Of new leaves yet. Well, I've only seen a couple of leadwoods. The bush willows are starting to grow. Most of the acacias seem to be growing small little leaves. There's a false marula with no leaves. Rhinos. Oh, yes. Good one, Basil. Spot the rhino behind the bush. There we go. Coming out for us nicely. Look at the side of his body, covered in mud. So he has been enjoying. I think so what he's doing there is he's scraping his horn on this tree that has fallen down there. You can kind of see it pushed over to the left in front of him now. He was scraping his horn on that. But I wouldn't be surprised if he spent the hottest part of the day sleeping in the shade somewhere. Doesn't look like he's got any fresh mud on him. But he's going in the wrong way. Well, he's going in the wrong direction, away from Lowveld of South Dam. What's he doing, Basil? Is he walking next, like alongside the road? Into the road. So if we turn around, we can follow him a bit. Okay, let's do that. Okay, we'll try and follow him for a little bit. Give those male lions some time to do something as it starts to cool down more. But it's nice to see a big rhino bull It would have been great if he was going in the other direction, because then maybe he would have come and disturbed our male lions that we want to get to. But he is just making use of the road and walking down the road, scent marking. Looks like he has scent marked there, judging by the dust. Look how beautiful that dust is getting kicked up by him. So again, he's just scraping that horn on something there. Maybe there's a rock or a stump on the ground that he's just scraping, and now he's going to scent mark for us. He is making sure that his scent gets into the top layer of soil. So what he was doing initially there was breaking the crust of the soil right next to the road with his feet, creating all that dust so that he can spray a scent in there so that it doesn't just stay on top of the surface and get blown away in the wind. It kind of penetrates a little bit more. And this is what he's going to be doing now, probably into the evening. And there's a warthog on the road. We've got a big grey animal and a little grey animal in the same shot. Look at that. The warthog is getting out of the way of this big rhino making his way down the road. Basil, if you just show the side of the road here where he's kicked up all this dirt, have a look at that. He's really scraped it, and you see how he's opened up the top, and there's the warthog again. He's broken the top sort of surface layer of the sand, which is quite hard this time of the year, and then he's sprayed onto that little bush and into the ground there. You can see the different color of the soil, so he's really broken up the top layer of soil so that his scent stays in there. And look at how much of a sign that is. If you wanted to be noticed, that is one way to do it if you're a rhino. If you're another male rhino coming along, you may want to stay clear because this male means business. Okay, he did go left down this road here. I want to see if he's still walking down the road and we can follow him for a little bit, or if he's gone into the bush. He is putting on a little bit of a show for us, walking down the road. He's going to midden, so it'll be interesting to see what he does here. He's probably going to smell the midden. I'm going to stop right here so we get a good view. He will probably smell the midden. He might even defecate here. He's going to kick it up and spray. Let's see if he does more than that. This is great territorial behavior of a rhino for you all. Nice, Michael Fleetwood saying he thought I was calling a rhino a warthog because he didn't see the warthog initially. Not backing my skills, hey, Michael. Stations, there's a white rhino bull on Sunsloot Put, just south of Lowveld of South Africa, mobile south. I've brushed past a whole lot of grass that was leaning into the road, and now I've got grass seeds on my seat and they are stabbing me in the legs. So you see what he was doing there again? He was kicking up that midden and breaking up his dung. And now all of that scent is also in the bottom of his feet. And he's going to walk down the road spreading the scent. Look at that. You can't even see all those balls of dung. And what is incredible is the amount of flies. Can you see the flies that are already here on that fresh dung that he's just added to this midden of his? There are so many flies there, and he was here not even a minute ago. Look how he's broken it all up. Very different to a female rhino that doesn't do that. So there's a great example of how we are in summer. The flies know where to hang out. They get an instant prize for spending some time around a rhino midden. So he's spraying again, scent marking all the way down this road, so it's not going to be long until he needs to find himself some water. And I'm trying to think of where the nearest water would be for him in the direction that he's moving. Maybe he'll go to CEST a little bit later on. And he's scraping along the road here so regularly. And you can see that foot collar of his on his front left foot. Keeping track of his movements. And breaking the surface of the ground. Probably turn around and scent mark here now. He's really putting on a show for us. We'll just see what he does now. He has gone off the road into the thickets here. I'm going to give him a little bit of space in case he turns around and comes back towards the road. He's just behind this big leadwood tree. And this one has leaves, so maybe it's just a few leadwoods that don't have leaves. Okay, he looks like he's coming back to the road. Having a little bit of a munch next to the road here, by the looks of it. He has pretty much done everything that you would want a rhino to do for you on a drive. Scent marked, scraped. Walking down the road on his territorial march. It's also just been a little bit of a lawnmower there on the middle manaki here in the 2-track. Grazing down that grass, nice fresh green grass coming through in the middle of the road. Taking full advantage of that. When you're a grazer like a rhino, a white rhino, it must be sorry, I just stopped talking because I thought I heard an impala briefly, but it doesn't sound like there's impala's alarm calling. I was saying, so it must be so nice to be a grazer once the green grass comes back through and you can have nice soft vegetables rather than the dry coarse stuff that you have been eating for the last few months in the dry season. It must feel so nice on your big lips if you're a white rhino that grazes all the time. Nice soft green grass.
Special Madodangala, I would like to join you. I'm 3 minutes out.
So we're just going to wait for him to walk down the road, and then I think we'll turn around and continue our earlier plan of going to the lions. It is always special being able to spend some time with a rhino just doing his thing. Not really worried about our presence or what we're doing. Although he did turn around and gave us a bit of a dramatic shot earlier with all the dust, with the sun behind him as he was taking a closer look at us. Mary, that is an interesting observation that you've just made, looking at the sort of lower leg of the rhino bull. It does look quite small to support all of that weight, doesn't it? Especially when you look at it there in that shot now as he walks away from us. Such a big animal with such little ankles almost. Maybe he will do a big loop from here and end up at Lowveld of South Dam, because it is still the closest water. He's got a little bit of a walk from here to get to CEST, but it wouldn't surprise me he's going to scent mark again there if he did end up at CEST the way he's walking. But he could always sort of double back on himself and do a bit of a loop to Lowveld of South Dam, which I think we'll head to now. We'll leave this big male rhino to continue his Sunday afternoon patrol, and we'll make our way to 2 big male lions, hopefully doing more than sleeping, and a little bit more along the lines of what this rhino has treated us to in the last 20 minutes. Maybe not that long, 15 minutes. Basil, if I get a puncture, you're going to change it. Basil says he's just going to film me if I get a puncture trying to turn around here. Just breaking a couple of branches here on the floor, and the rhino's turned around to have a little look at us. I thought it was a little bit more open here, but even the small chimney isn't making me look very good at this right now. Gotta worry about this big leadwood behind us. I thought I could get further into the bush there, but there's a few fallen over. Raisin bushes. Okay, male lions, let's go. The sun is probably about, I want to say 10 minutes from going behind the Drakensberg Mountains. I'll show you briefly here with Basil. You can just see it's about to drop below the beautiful escarpment. We're not in the greatest part of the reserve to see that, but maybe if Basil holds the camera there as we go through and the bush line opens up a little bit, you'll get that picture of the sun and how far it has got to go before it's gone. Not long. You can see the mountain range just there. Okay. Stations, I'm leaving this rhino bull on Sunsloot Put, just south of Lowveld route. It's an open lock, he's continuing south on the road. I'll be keen to resume heading to the male lions at Lowveld Dam. There are some giraffe tracks on the road here, and some impalas in front of us. Let's see if we stop here. We get a bit of a... And there's some vervet monkeys with the impalas just to the left of the road. I'm sure we'll get a little look at them just now. Last year, Lowveld Dam was the first place that we saw an impala lamb. The first couple of impala lambs were up this side. A couple of these females are staring off past us to the left here. But the vervet monkeys in the trees are not looking too concerned, so I don't think they've seen anything concerning to them. So it's always good just to check this herd with reports of lambs around. For me it's still early, but you never know with the early rains. Let's see if we can get some shots of these monkeys that seem to be sitting for us. Love this little pile of rocks here, this little outcrop on Wildefay. I wonder if these figs are fruiting at all. Maybe a little bit too early.
I'm leaving 2 of the pride, heading north towards Buffalo Camp.
I wonder what they're doing in this. It looks like a knobthorn tree. Doesn't look like there's any seeds. There might be a few remaining after they were seeding. It's the end of their season, because these trees were all in flower about sort of 2 months ago, 6 weeks ago.
Can you confirm where they from? Are they mobile or they are static?
Impalas have all moved away from us.
They are hunting, heading north towards the Buffalo Camp. Okay.
They do seem to be picking things off the branches, but I can't make out exactly what it is.
Double coming. Take it, bye. Confirm one last you over Lowveld. First country. This morning. Yesterday evening.
Let's see if we can see what this little one that's in a bit of a better place is eating.
I'm on Kaya.
I wonder if it's just the new shoots of these knobthorn leaves. Tough to say behind these other bushes. Okay, I don't want to miss the lions doing anything interesting because it has cooled down a lot. So let's make our way there. We don't get to do many of these drives, so it would be good to go and sit with them for a little while and see if they get busy for us. It's getting super windy though out here. I haven't been to Lowveld of South Dam for a while, so I'm curious to see how much water is actually left in the dam. And if it's like Mamba Dam, there wouldn't be too much. It's also a dam that does tend to dry. It's not the biggest. I need to drink a little bit of water. It sounds like they've got two lionesses on Kaya now. That are going north, so there's no ways of them coming south towards the corridor to link up with these two males, but maybe these males will go through the corridor tonight and link up with those two females.
Good afternoon, this is Andrew and Chester Mobile on Kaya from Masters. Who's up there for an update? Thank you.
Almost looks greener here, hey Basil? The bush kind of has a greener feel to it up here, which is a bit weird. I just sort of noticed it looks a bit more vibrant to other parts that we've been driving through this afternoon. Don't know what it is. The sun is about to dip behind the mountains. When we were leaving camp this afternoon, Basil was bringing with him a jacket. I had to ask him if he thought he would need it. He's like, it's going to get windy later, so it might be cool. And the temperatures are dropping off quite nicely. I didn't bring anything. I doubt I will need a jacket because of today's temperatures. But I kind of had a little bit of a laugh at Basil at the idea that he might need a jacket when it was, I don't know, 38 degrees when we left camp. I still don't think he's going to put it on. amazing how there's no clouds. There were a few clouds building this afternoon. It looked like they might all roll in. But the wind that's picked up is blowing them all pretty much away. I think it's just there's like a stump there that was catching the last of the light that looked like something sitting, almost like a cheetah, when I first saw it. Now when the bush starts growing again, you start to see different things because there's more color and it's all not the same shades of browns. So the way that stump was catching the light with the green around it made it look like something was sitting there. I wonder if this part of the reserve has received more rainfall, because it definitely has a different sort of saturation of green here. A little bit more. Whoa, Basil. I went over that bolster a little bit too fast. Basil almost lost his seat. This is where I saw my first impala lamb last year. Just off to the left here. A fleeting sighting, as it often is when the lambs are very little, finding their feet, they tend to run away. Okay, Lowveld of Dam, here we are. Where are our big male lions? There's still quite a bit of water here, more than Mamba Dam, so that's quite nice. And there's a male lion. There's two male lions. Can you see them, Basil? So one's on the little island and one is in the inflow area there. They're sleeping apart from one another. Nowhere near where shade would have been. Well, this male is actually. His brother's obviously moved recently now that there's no sun out. But the one on the right-hand side of screen is probably hiding itself behind this little bush that's here.
Mobile on Liz, standing by for update. Lots of noise on the radio, but I can't really hear what people are saying, so I'm not sure whether there's an issue on the radio. But I don't know of any sightings either. So I can't really hear you there either, so I think there's an issue with the radio.
Let's get a little bit closer and then I'll do some radio.
Copy that. I'm on Kaya and have not heard of any updates.
Heads up.
Somebody let me know if they're hearing this. Yeah, you're 5 out of 5. The only thing I'm aware of is that in the area, not on them drive, I saw she could smell and they were down.
Let's see. There's a rhino coming for a drink, another male. Let's see what he does with these lions. The stations, I'm arriving with the two male lions at Lowveld of South Dam. There's also a white rhino bull approaching. And then there was a female and calf, white rhino around Hoofpad, Lowveld of South Mobile North earlier, and a male white rhino on Sunsloot Pad, Mobile South from Lowveld of South. lion politely moving out of the way.
Made a kill. Right at 50 crossing.
Funny how that rhino went straight to where the lion was sleeping just to have a little munch on the grass there.
Station, can you confirm the location of the female cheetah?
We got our timing to get you perfectly to watch this rhino show up. I'm gonna swing past you, Basil. Let's see if he chases the other male lion and feeds on the grass that he's sleeping on. Just go out a little bit, Basil. Ah, there we go. Okay, he's just watching him coming for a drink. Okay, I'm just going to swing the car a little bit so that you can get a better shot without the back of the car there. How far can I go towards you? Okay, there you go. Sunset, that's a beautiful screen shot, anybody. Male lion, big male rhino, the setting sun. I wonder why he's made his life difficult going right there for a drink. He's sunk into the mud a little bit. I bet after a hot day that felt really good. And I'm sure he deliberately did that. It wasn't a very long drink for a white rhino bull. Now he's kind of slipped into the mud and wet his belly and continuing on his way. Thought he would have drunk a lot more than that. You kind of expect them to drink, I don't know, between 50 and 70 liters of water a day. especially on a hot day like today, and the amount that Basil, the male lions, walk in here. Quite nice in front of us. So he definitely didn't drink anywhere near 10 liters of water there. That was a half attempt at a roar. Now Kinky Tails just passed out. His brother sort of went, oh, I don't know if I want to roar now. It looks like our rhino might be going for a drink on the other side. So let's reverse and see if he's going to use the other water to get more of his daily requirement. How am I doing on the wall there? Fine. Trusting you, Basil. I thought it was more of a drop-off. Yeah, it was. Phew. Yeah, I'm going to drop in here, okay? And then you're going to be eye level with the lion as well. Let's see. It's a bit of an easier spot. It's a bit harder there for him to get nice footing to drink. He should drink for about a minute. Let's time him.
Pressing or twin pressing? Leslie's side. Yeah, it's right there. Okay, copy, thanks. Well, okay, we're going to please confirm the location of female cheetah. Is Fig Tree Crossing or Twin Crossing? Fig Tree Crossing. Copy.
That gust of wind kind of unsettled him a little bit, but he's back to it. So he's been drinking for over a minute now. This is more like it. This is what I was expecting earlier. I was expecting him to drink for a lot longer, but he chose to go to the muddy and slushy section of the wall, dam that side, and along the wall here. So that was about a minute and a half that he drank for, which is more like it. Rhinos are very predictable, coming to drink in the evenings. Now, like we saw earlier, this is a different rhino to the one we saw just now. He'll probably go and do what that one was doing, scent marking, spraying urine, go to some of his middens, now that it's cooler and more pleasant for him to walk around and mark his territory. He's had his drink so he can go and spray his territorial spots. Egyptian geese are shouting at what looks like a Wahlberg's eagle, although I didn't see it properly. Could have been a yellow-billed kite. But when I saw them and I looked towards them, they were shouting, not very happy in the presence of an eagle. I just saw the bird fly away down the river where that male lion walked from just now. Okay, so yeah, Michael, we are at Lowveld of South Dam. And to be honest, I haven't seen these male lions for a while. I haven't been on Game Drive as much recently, so I haven't noticed any differences. But that wasn't a full-blown attempt at a roar just now. It was definitely a half effort, almost more like a contact call more than a territorial display. As it cools down and that sound travels further, you might find them get a little bit louder. That's quite a nice scene with the mountains behind the rhino. Rietspruit in the background there. Mary will try and keep up with those live cameras. It is difficult now. Those birds are bathing a lot and splashing. I'll just check with Veer what's going on with the swamp cam. I wonder if it was bumped by an animal coming to have a drink or something like that. I think let's go to the other male. It's a little bit easier. And we can get a look at his face. Go to Kinky Tail there. And we can enjoy it and see. Maybe they'll get up and move a little bit for us just now. It was nice for the rhino to have come when he did, because he encouraged some movement out of Kinky Tail. And he's yawning, so we should... Basil, sorry, I'm just trying to get my turning circle right so I don't have to do a 3-point turn. Kind of put Basil in the bushes there as we went past. Is that fine? And there he is, his head's back up. Oh, I can hear a gorgeous bush shrike calling downriver. Isn't that majestic? Male lions lift his head. They sound like they're listening towards the south. Or maybe he's just listening at the gorgeous bushrock that's calling behind us. But that's a beautiful scene, him sort of looking straight towards us. We might be in for a treat this evening because these two are showing more and more signs of being restless. A little bit of grooming, head up, a little bit of a raw attempt just now. Maybe another one coming. I think that roar was in response because the male on the wall there was flat out just now, and he lifted his head and looked south, and now he's roaring and listening in that direction now again. So maybe the male next door is roaring or responding to the earlier one from Kinky Tail. But both of them aren't going, so it's not anything too serious. That was a better effort there. It's amazing how these two male lions have aged in the year that I've been here on the Rietspruit Game Reserve with Painted Dog TV. They were young, pretty boys when I arrived here, and in the last year they've really beaten one another up. Kinky Tail's got a big cut in his nose, there's a bit more scarring on their faces, they're looking a bit more like male lions. Looks like there's a group of banded mongoose coming down for an evening drink behind the dam wall there. Well, this is sort of like an island wall. I do enjoy banded mongoose. Look at them. Other day I saw a group and I counted, it must have been 40 to 45 mongooses. Jennifer, yeah, there are cases of lions killing rhinos. It does happen. Often they will target younger rhinos, but I do know of a coalition of male lions that killed a like 5-year-old rhino, which isn't small. They'll try their luck more with babies, but when you've got a big, fit, healthy mom, it helps defending. And it is probably more your bigger prides of lions that would try to hunt rhinos, or big coalitions of males, 4 or 5 male lions that would kill or attempt to hunt rhinos. But as you could see there was no attempt from these two males with that big white rhino that walked past them. They moved out of the way, or at least Kinky Tail did. We say lions are the king of the jungle, but they run away from buffalo. They move out of the way of elephants and rhinos. So they're not always necessarily on the top. But generally a healthy adult rhino is just something that a lion isn't really going to mess with. They're just going to move out of the way. It's not worth their time and their effort. It's a big animal. Their skin in some parts, look at all those banded mongooses running away. Their skin in some parts is 5 centimeters thick. So it's not easy to bring down a rhino, but obviously if it's unhealthy, then there is a opportunity for lions, and lions are opportunistic, so they'll take any opportunity that they can, but it would have to be a scenario like a young rhino or a rhino that's maybe suffering from a bit of sickness or injury, old rhino. But I think sometimes there's a bit of a concern with the dehorning and now horn trimming, that potentially that there would have been a risk because rhinos wouldn't be able to defend themselves as well. You can imagine a lion would avoid something that has a very long, pointy, sharp object on their nose. But it's not as if there's any evidence to suggest that with our efforts to protect rhinos and removing their horns that there's an increase in predation on them. I think if you're trying to take on a 2-ton animal, you're going to be having the odds stacked against you. He has got some commercial vibes, doesn't he? Mary, with the wind. Getting a nice little blow dry here. He needs to give his head a nice big shake now and fluff it all out. These two boys are kind of just eyeing each other out, like, what's our plan for tonight? Brew, where are we going? What we're doing? What part of the reserve do you want to go and see? Should we go link up with the girls?
Wireless now coming for them.
Okay, not just yet. They've both flopped down. 10 more minutes. They might roar again before they get up and start doing something. But also with this wind, they might avoid, well, not avoid, but their roars are not going to travel as far as they would want to from a territorial perspective, because their roars will get lost a bit at the amount of wind that there is this evening. So they may not put a lot of effort into it tonight. And normally their roars will be heard 8 kilometers away. So that's 5 miles or so. Basic calculation. But a night like tonight, when there's a lot of wind, it's not going to be traveling that far. Look at that big gash on his nose from where a claw, more than likely a claw, has hooked his nose and ripped it open like that. That was at the beginning of this year when these two were fighting each other quite a lot when one of the females was an estrus. Got a few more scars to tell the story of a male lion's life, typically. Big open systems where they're defending prides and cubs and territory from other males, maybe trying to take over territory from older males and then defend their territory from younger males. Get a few more scars. Hello, Beert, how are you? Good, good. I just want to see if they're going to do anything. It is. They've roared twice. They were roaring. Yeah. 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 Doing what they do best. Doing what they do best. It's this one, yeah. Yeah. He's got that big cut in his nose. Yeah. There was a rhino here earlier. Did you see it? No, he walked off that way. Yeah.
Do you hear anything about the black rhinos?
I still haven't seen.
Quite nice now.
Yeah, there's some good sightings. Yeah,
How's your leopard project?
it's coming. Yeah.
Where are you
There was one near CEST. There was a young male in that area about a week ago, and he was seen at CEST Crip as well. So getting a little bit more relaxed. And then that big blowbunk male. Oh, the other night the Matimba male, a big male leopard, was drinking here. She's good. Yeah, strong. Yeah. Slowing down in the heat. Yeah. Yeah, it is, yeah. Today was very hot. It looks like this week's going to be overcast there with rain Thursday, Friday. Yeah. Cool. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Oh, I was just chatting to one of the standbys, the owners of Blowbunk, asking about leopards. I just see Michael asking. Matimba male is a male leopard that we see up sort of northern parts of Blowbunk. Yeah, he comes, I think about a week ago he was seen drinking here. He goes up onto Leadwood and into Raptors Wildlife Estate, up onto Zandspruit. And then recently the Witgat male has been seen a couple of times around CEST. He was drinking at CEST Crip, I think, a couple of nights ago. Or no, Lemondurian Crip. He's been hanging around that area recently. And I heard of him when we started here. Andrew told me about him. But nobody's seen him until the last couple of weeks. So I think as a young male leopard does, he probably went on a bit of a walkabout. And then he's come back home, which is interesting. They often do that and then they sort of disappear for good, especially if their father pushes them away. And then the blowbunk male is ever present around Haste, and then I think he comes all the way up here to Lowveld Dam. So he's kind of this is kind of the boundary, I think, between the timber male and blowbunk male at Lowveld Dam here. You can probably find that blowbunk male is the Witgat male's father. But I'm not entirely sure on the leopard dynamics. Michael, when it comes to male lions and roaring, you don't often hear them roaring in the middle of the day. So maybe on cooler days in winter they'll be roaring, but it's just that conserving of energy. It does take some energy to roar and advertising oneself. So they're not going to be roaring in the middle of a summer's day unless there's some big territorial stuff going on. And it's not often that you hear them roaring sort of outside of that crepuscular nighttime, middle of the day. So they will be aware. It's just energy. It takes energy to roar. I just think on a windy day when the sound doesn't travel so far, it may not have the same effect. So I'm just making an assumption here. I don't know if there's any data on that. But I know when we are sitting next to each other sometimes, and on a windy day you have to talk a little bit louder so that you can hear each other, and it would be a similar situation, I'm sure, for them, where they would be aware of the fact that sound doesn't travel as far on a windy day. I wonder if they're going to do anything for us in the next 10 minutes. And I wonder if it's worth... Yeah, the elephants have just been found at Lowveld Dam, but that's a bit too far for us to get to before the end of drive. But I am wondering if we just leave these two boys to it now. I don't think they're going to do too much, and at least not anything too exciting in the next 10 minutes or so for us in the last little bit of our drive. And I wonder if it's worthwhile just driving down and seeing if maybe we get one of the nocturnal characters jumping out on the road for us. Maybe we get lucky with a leopard walking down a road. Because it doesn't look like we're going to strike too much more here with them when you look at him lying like that. I think let's do that. Let's leave these two boys to it. They gave us a couple of roars, a little bit of entertainment with the white rhino bull that came for a drink. Lowveld of Dam definitely provided us a good half an hour sightings. But let's go see if we can find anything. See if there's anything moving about on the roads for the last 10 minutes. Maybe we get lucky with a leopard on the move, or we get something smaller, genet, civet, although it's been a hot day, so I think some of those more strictly nocturnal animals like your civets, honey badgers, well, as I say that, he does a massive stretch and yawn, but he's gone straight back to the position that he was. They're going to start moving soon, but I think let's move and try and see if we can catch anything else exciting to end off what I think has been a pretty productive game drive. It would be great to cap the drive off with a leopard sighting. And although it's cooled off, oh, here are all the banded mongooses, so they've come around the lions. They're all just scurried off here into the thickets. Going to their den for the night, try and find a big termite mound. Although they'll know where it is, they won't have to find anyone. It's kind of a little bit of an awkward time where you don't quite need a spotlight just yet. But I'm going to use one because if there is a leopard hiding behind the grass from us, we will get their eyes shining back at us, which I won't be able to see them in their camouflage state. So let's use the spotlight for the next 10 minutes, see if we find anything on the way home. Stations, I'm leaving the 2 male lions at Lowveld of South Africa. There's no change, they're still flat out. It's an open lock. I think that's a dyker crossing the road. I got those eyes. But it had that dyker shape to it. So while it's cooling down and the temperature's really pleasant, I still don't think Basil's going to need his jacket by the time we get home. Unless he was doing some kind of sweat training, in which case he may have been wearing his jacket at the start of game drive. I don't think Basil needs to do any form of sweat training there. But I must say, it is a nice break in the heat, the way the temperature's dropped off. Sometimes on these really hot days, it can stay hot until 8, 9 o'clock at night. But that's not going to be the case tonight. The wind is making it cooler. A mountain there, beautifully silhouetted. Got some more eyes here, but it looks like it's maybe from impalas. Yeah, so we're not going to shine the light in their eyes. A night like tonight isn't very pleasant for your antelope species. They obviously at night rely a lot on their hearing over their eyesight. Although their eyes are still a lot better than ours are. But when you've got the wind like it is tonight, it really unsettles them a lot. And they try and find thickets to huddle up into, because that breaks the wind a little bit and gives them slightly better advantage with their hearing than if they were standing in the open like they typically like to do at night, where they can then see a predator making any advances on them. But tonight they'll sacrifice the open area, better visual detection of predators, to go into thickets where they can hear better. Yeah, I think we'll extend by another 10 minutes or so. There's another group of banded mongooses here on their way home. They're a little bit far from home for this time of the evening, so don't want to shine the light on them for too long. That was interesting. What are they doing awake? They should have been at their little den for the night a little while ago, but they're out and about. Don't want to shine the light on them either. So we'll just do an extra 10 minutes for everybody, because we don't do this as we're on the way home. And we're quite far from home, up at Lowveld of South Africa. Let's see, that gives us a bit of a chance to see if we can find anything popping out on the road. The other night I saw an aardvark, which was quite exciting. Victoria thinks it was the first, well, she knows that you can't think it was your first aardvark. You know when you have your first sighting of an aardvark, but just crossed the road in front of us at like 8 o'clock at night, which was quite special. Recently we've also seen a serval, caracal, so this is the time of day to see those things. I know caracal was seen a couple of days ago. We're coming up to the Blowbunk airstrip near Boskamp. And I know that Andrew had a in there just before he left, so there's always the possibility. But as we get closer to Haste, there's always the chance of leopard. I think it's been a few nights since Kudu Krip 2-3 drank at Camp Cam at camp. So there's always the chance that she's going to be out and about. It's been a little while since seen Blowbunk male around Haste. Sometimes he's there. He walks down the fence line along the view slit. So always strike some luck with those two leopards moving about as we get closer to Haste. But here is the Boskamp airstrip, so let's see if there's any serval around in these slightly more open areas that we get here. Obviously the nature of the airstrip is more cleared, so it's more open. You know what would be great to actually see would be hyenas. I wouldn't say no to a leopard, but just as we drive in here, I remember Victoria had a pretty impressive sighting of hyenas here once. I wouldn't mind seeing a hyena. I see their tracks all the time, but you don't see them too often. The mountain there, last bit of light. Looking down the canyon. Canyon is over there, beautiful. And it's definitely bringing in some. That's not mountains. Where my light is on the tree, what you see there, the darkness, those are not mountains. That's in the canyon. That is a bank of clouds that seems to be rolling in. Typically it would come over Rietspruit, but it seems like it's coming down the canyon towards us. Those lights are for Boskamp. I don't know why, but coming towards the end of October, I expect it to be lighter for longer, but it's not. I feel like summer, it should be light until 7 o'clock, but that's only when we get to December, January. For some reason, with the temperatures the way they have been the last couple of days, I kind of expect it to be lighter later. We're still a little way from Hayes, so if you do want to hang around, I think we'll just keep going until we get basically to Mamba Dam, where we started this afternoon's drive. See if we get lucky, try and extend as long as we can, getting closer to camp and give ourselves the best chance of finding a nocturnal animal. So if you do have somewhere to go, thanks for joining us this afternoon, but we'll probably go for another 10 minutes as we get closer to camp. Give ourselves a little bit of a chance, and then I'll wrap up and close drive when we get pretty much to Mamba Dam. We'll see if anybody's having a drink there to end the drive off this evening. So give you all another sort of 10 minutes or so. Don't know how long it'll take us to get to Mamba Dam. If you've got anywhere to go, thanks for joining us. Sunday evening safari. There's some impalas on the road. Not going to put the lights on them. We don't want to compromise their eyes. especially on a windy night like tonight, that they're going to be more unsettled. I don't want to compromise them any further. They've all just crossed the road in front of us. Oh, looks like there's a spotted eagle owl flying off here. It's probably sitting on this dead tree. Let's see if it's landed in any of these trees. There we go. Oh, I've got to keep the car on for the spotlight. Oh, no, it flew off. Sorry. I didn't expect the spotlight to turn off. It's plugged into the car, so that makes sense. I was doing a little bit of reading recently on the Drakensberg Mountains and their formation. They formed pretty much when the supercontinents were splitting up, so Gondwana land split into what is now the southern hemisphere continent. Around 150 to 130 million years ago. And it was in that process of splitting, larval formations that formed in the splitting process. Obviously the Earth's crust breaking up and lava coming up formed the Drakensberg escarpment. It's the second oldest mountain range in Africa. There's a mountain range in Ethiopia that's older than this one. It's one of the only mountain range that's sort of erodes backwards further away from the ocean. It erodes at about 1.5 millimeters, so hardly anything every year. It's mostly made up of basalts because of that larval foundation. It's interesting. When I do a little bit more reading on the formation of this mountain range, I find myself thinking, I look at it every single day with the sort of been living at the foot slopes of the mountains here in Rietspruit, and over the last 7 years, it's been the backdrop of every sunset that I've watched. I was guiding at Mala Mala and then living here in Rietspruit for a year. I found myself thinking I don't actually know much about the mountains in terms of their formation and their age, so I thought I'd do a little bit of reading, and it's something that I want to dive a little bit deeper into. Kind of expectant of somebody to be walking down the road, a hyena or a leopard down here. I know the lions are kind of all up in the north. So maybe we'll get somebody else down here somewhere. I've had hyena on this road before. Still waiting to see my first brown hyena on the Rietspruit. So maybe now, end of the dry season, one will pop out for us. That would be quite special. I've had leopard on this road a couple of times. So let's see. Oh, fiery neck nightjar calling. I can just hear it calling off to the left here. Some of those beautiful night sounds of the bushveld. Fiery neck nightjar is one of them. It's a good time of the year to start looking for chameleons. I saw a photograph on Instagram the other day of pennant-winged nightjars, talking about that fiery neck nightjar. This is always the time of the year that they start to mate, and you see the males with their beautiful pennants. There's not many breeding pairs in southern Africa. We're very fortunate to have a pair that used to be seen every year, sort of end of October, beginning of November, around Campbell Koppies on Mala Mala. Victoria's parents actually got to see that pair flying over the top of us, which is quite special. There's a couple of other spots for them. Further north in the Kruger National Park, they're a little bit more common than down in this part. Beautiful bird. Displaying at this time of the evening when you get them above you and you can see in the last light of the sun, in the oranges, that sort of hue that remains after the sun is set, and you get the pennant-winged nightjars, the males displaying for you. Quite a spectacular bird. I might just show you on my phone what I'm talking about when we stop at Mamba Dam. What I mean. Now we start dropping down towards the deep slits. Good spot for the blowbunk male leopard. Makes an appearance here, that would be wonderful. Quite often comes down this road, Beerstip, that joins onto Hoofpad here, just on the eastern bank of the deep slits, and then walks down into the deep slit and then goes for a drink at Mamba Dam. So maybe tonight's the night. A leopard sighting would be very welcome. Let's check for tracks here at this junction that's coming up and see. Because then if we see his tracks, we know where to go and have a look. Okay, so that's Madrid Putt. Baboon tracks. This is the junction. So I've had him on live drive before with James. He walked down here and then walks around this corner and scent marks along here before he goes into the deep slope, but I don't see any tracks in the road, so... Ooh, what are those? Ah, baboons. The way baboons sometimes sort of walk on their knuckles looks a bit like a leopard track when you first see them. Let's just check the dam. It'd be quite interesting watching a cat trying to drink from Mamba Dam at the moment because it's receded so much. Not much water there. They'd have to navigate the mud to get to the little bit of water that's in the middle where that terrapin was. Everybody's coming down Mamba Cronkelput towards us. And it doesn't look like there's anybody here. Basil, do you just want to zoom into whatever that is? Is it? Yeah, it's a porcupine. I thought maybe it was a porcupine. Oh, it's quite far in the light. But that is a cool way to end our drive, everybody. I do want to just show you what a pennant-wing nightjar looks like on my app, but we'll see if this porcupine comes out again. I thought maybe it was one. It's just gone into the bush there. I hope you kind of saw that briefly. We'll have a look now with the light. Let me just quickly have a quick look at any comments here. Okay, let me get a pennant-wing nightjar. For those of you that have stuck with us. But Basil, is that bright enough for you? So that is a pennant-wing nightjar. You can see how beautiful these pennants are on the wing that the males have. You can imagine that flying above you with the last little bit of light from the sun as it's set. It is a beautiful bird. The males end up losing these pennants after the breeding season, but it is a beautiful bird. And then if we look at the Kruger National Park, you can see where these rings are. That's kind of the distribution. So you have to go right up into the northern parts of the Kruger. There's a good thing there, but these circles are the known pairs that come down. So not a lot. So it's quite a rare bird to see. I did just think about it. I'm talking about nightjars because this is the time of the year. There's nobody here, and that porcupine is unfortunately moved into those thickets. But everybody that is still with us, thanks for joining on this Sunday afternoon. It's been pleasant to be in front of you again. It's not often that I sit in this hot seat. I've been joining you in the pack chats for the last 5 weeks, talking about interesting little topics. And just a reminder, I won't be there tomorrow night, but Victoria will be on pack chat, so be sure to catch up with her. And until the next time that I chat to you, which will be next week, Monday, enjoy yourselves, have a great time, and we'll see you again. So from all of us at Painted Dog TV, have a great week.